I'm so bored, and I have no games to play. Every game is just so boring to play right now. Persona 5, maybe? Nah, that game sucks. Xenoblade 3? I've done literally everything I could possibly do in that game. Maybe Marvel Rivals? No. I can't play that game until MODOK comes out. God, I hate video games where I can't be a sexy Korean woman. If only there was a game like If only there was a game like that. Whoa! Yeah, you saw that right. Today, I'll be talking about Stellar Blade. One of my favorite games from last year. I've had this video on the back burner for quite a while. The last time that I worked on this script was in May of last year, and I had to rewrite a good portion of this script because it was just really bad. Like, seriously, the original script was an absolute mess. What on God's green earth was I writing? All that aside, I'm pretty excited to talk about Stellar Blade, as not only is it one of my favorite games from last year, but it's also probably one of my favorite games, period. It's pretty high up there on the list. I love this game, and I'm going to tell you why. Before I talk more, I need to address this. You all know what kind of talks Stellar Blade has had in the past couple of months. With all of the controversies and all of the people bitching about stupid pointless shit that ultimately does not matter whatsoever, there have been a lot of talk about this game with that kind of stuff. I will not be talking about any of those things regarding the game. I will be talking about the game and solely the game. I'm going to have two different sections of the video. A non-spoiler part of the video, where I'll mostly talk about the gameplay, graphics, and the music, you know, the usual stuff. And then the second section will be purely story related. I will be talking about spoilers in that section, so here is the one warning of many. Now that we got all of that stuff out of the way, let's get started on this video on Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade was one of the most talked about games in 2024. I don't really think I really need to explain what Stellar Blade is, but the short rundown is that Stellar Blade is an action-adventure game. The same type of genre as like Nier Automata and the Bayonetta series. I'm a decently big fan of this genre. I've played several other games in this genre, like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, all three of the Spider-Man games, and Nier Automata. Stellar Blade plays basically exactly like how all of those other games play. Target the opponent, hit him a bunch, and then do some cool looking combos, kill the enemy, rinse and repeat. On the surface level, it's pretty basic, but what you can do is unlock more and more combos as you play the game, and then unlock later abilities called beta and burst skills in order to spice up your gameplay even more and make killing the Naytibas funner and faster. The gameplay is just so addicting, and I never get tired of it. I enjoy doing different combos and seeing what ways I can kill the Naytibas. Naytibas are the main enemies of the game, by the way. I forgot to mention that. The beta and burst skills are super useful, and honestly, are the best things in the entire game. The beta skill that's set to square, triplet, is honestly the most broken beta skill. It carried me through the entire game. I'm gonna be honest. Every single boss in the game was slain by triplet at least once, and I do not regret it a single time. If I could play the entire game and only use triplet, I would. The other beta skills that I like using is Slash, the skill set's a triangle. It's an AoE move that honestly, that alone makes it one of the best skills in the game. Shockwave and Shield Breaker set to X and Circle respectively are also pretty good, but I don't like them as much as Triplet and Slash. The Burst skills are a set of skills you unlock later in the game and are more used for staggering the opponent and buffing up Eve rather than defeating the enemy. Punishing Edge and Descending Break are used for knocking down enemies, and Overdrive is for boosting damage and attack speed. The only burst skill that is actually used for defeating an enemy is Tempest, where you basically become Virgil from Devil May Cry for a second. They all have their uses. My favorite is personally Punishing Edge and Overdrive. That's about really it for the gameplay section of this. It's kind of self-explanatory, like I said at the beginning. The other thing that I forgot to mention is that you can use a gun, and I think that's pretty cool, but it's not as useful as, like, you know, your main sword, but it's still pretty good. This basically concludes the gameplay portion of the video. Now, let's get on to the graphic portion. The graphics for Stellar Blade are absolutely amazing in my opinion. The game looks great on my old ass television. The hardware for the PS5 really helps out this game to look as good as it possibly could. Every place you went is expertly crafted to suit the area and theme of that area. The theme of the world is basically post-apocalyptic Earth. So everywhere you look, you will see ruins of some kind. Mostly ruins of buildings and other kind of structures. The cutscenes are beautiful and I just love replaying the game just to rewatch these cutscenes. Seeing Eve kick ass in really high quality was just super satisfying to see, and I definitely enjoyed looking at everything in the game while I played. Everything, I mean everything. I'm not really a graphics are the only thing I care about in games kind of guy, but I mean, just look at me. My favorite game of all time is literally a 2009 game made of pixels on a game system that probably can't run Doom. I don't care about graphics in the slightest. But I must say, Stellar Blade's graphics are on a whole nother level, and the developers definitely deserve the praise. The atmosphere and the overall world of Stellar Blade is amazing, and I love just about everything about it. Personally, this is one of, if not my favorite types of atmospheres in video games. Post-apocalyptic settings. There's something about seeing what used to be. Seeing empty streets, rundown stores, destroyed buildings, it just makes you think that people used to walk, work, and laugh in these areas. And seeing them all ruined and destroyed is just fascinating. Stellar Blade's take on the post-apocalyptic theme is probably one of the best depictions of the genre I've seen. I just like to look at the scenery while I'm just walking around. My personal favorite area in the game is just idk 7, the very first area in the game. Back when we only had the demo to play around with, I spent hours just constantly walking to the end of the demo, going back to the very start of it, and then just walking back again. I would do that over and over. I also really like the other areas as well, but to me, idk 7 will probably be my favorite area in the game, period. Speaking of the demo, another thing that I really liked doing while playing the demo was listening to the music being played while I looked around idk 7. Of course, when I played the main game, I got to listen to the game's full soundtrack, and I really love the soundtrack. It's a really well crafted soundtrack that really captures the feeling of what's going on in that moment. And to be honest, there's a lot of tracks. There is a shockingly large amount of tracks for the smallest things. There is a completely new track for every new location you go to. There's even 2 versions of that track. A version where you're just running around, and then another version of that track when you enter a battle with the Naytibas. There's a total of 189 tracks. That is a lot. The soundtrack is really good, and I enjoy listening to it a lot, and I think that all of you should listen to it when you get the chance. Luckily for you, the developers have put the music on multiple streaming platforms, like Spotify. I sometimes listen to select tracks because I'm bored and I just want to jam out to it while I'm just doing random stuff, like writing a video script. Some tracks that are my personal favorite are Silent Street, the Flooded Commercial Sector, all of the Wasteland themes, all of the Great Desert themes, and lastly, my favorite track, Star Descent. A great thing that the developers have been doing with Stellar Blade is that they're basically treating this game like it's a live service game, even though it's not. They have added several free updates from the start of the game till now. The game came out in late April, and as I'm recording this, it's mid-February of the next year, and they're still updating the game with new stuff. We've gotten things like a summer event, a Christmas event. They've added a well-crafted boss challenge mode. They've added a photo mode, and they've added a shit ton of costumes for Eve to wear. And now, they're starting to get into collabs with different games. A game that collabs with basically every single game is Nier. Stellar Blade had a collab with Nier that added costumes and a new event into the game. And then we thought that they would be mostly done with this game. However, in the most recent state of play, they revealed another collab with another game that the developers have made, Nikke. Nikke? Nike? Nike? I don't fucking know. All I know is that they're still doing collabs, and I bet that they have even more things planned for the future. I would not be surprised if this game just straight up gets a new area and a collab with every single game in existence. Now that we've covered all of that stuff, the last thing that I want to talk about is the story. Last warning, by the way. If you do not want any story spoilers, then turn away right now. This is your final warning. Alright, here we go. Stellar Blade's story is, in my opinion, pretty decently good for what it is. The story, in my opinion, is very surface level, and the plot twists that get revealed later in the story can be seen from a mile away. The story isn't horrible in any way, but it's nothing special. The main objective for the entire game is to slay the ongoing Naytiba threat that has infected all of Earth. Eve gets sent to Earth as part of the 7th Airborne Squad. She lands on Earth after her giant-ass spaceship crash lands on the planet and has to fight her way to the rest of her squad, only for them to die to a giant ship that was totally avoidable. Because, for being super soldiers who can basically do anything, I think they would have been fast enough to dodge it. That's beside the point. Taki, a fellow squad member, gets impaled by Arsene from Persona 5, and then Eve gets rescued by Adam, some random guy who just happens to be there. For the rest of the story, you proceed to collect Elder Naytiba cores, so you can craft a key to the nest of the Naytibas, so you can go and slay the Elder Naytiba, and then reclaim Earth. That is just a short summary of the story, basically. Like I said a little bit ago, I like the story. I think that the story has its good moments and some really cool things happen in it. Like, for example, Raven, a member of the 2nd Airborne Squad, shows up in holograms and gives us clues to like who the real threat is, and that the Naytibas aren't really the main threat. The world and the lore is pretty interesting, but they never ever go into it at all. Or you just have to go out and read collectibles that you find around the world. Let's be honest, who the fuck is gonna read these? I have this problem in many other games too. I want to see the lore shown to me, not told to me in dialogue. I don't want to read about the downfall of humanity. I want to see it. Show it to me. I'm getting a bit off topic. Going back to the story, after replaying the game several times, getting all of the endings, and letting the story sit for me for a little while, my conclusion is the story isn't very good. Like I said, I still enjoy the story a pretty decent amount, but everything is just so surface level, and the writing for the story is just so basic that I can't really say that the story is groundbreaking. The plot twists are kind of dumb, and kind of have no build-up at all. Like, for the whole game, Adam is just this random guy who helps you, and then at the very end of the game, ta-da! Adam is revealed to be the Elder Naytiba. Like, what prompted this? There was nothing leading up to it. It just happens, and Eve is just like, I had a feeling. Like, the fuck do you mean you had a feeling? We just blasted a giant Naytiba attached to a space station in the fucking eyeball. I don't think Eve had time to even think about Adam. That was the main problem with the story in my opinion. Like I said, having the story sit with me for a little while has also brought me to yet another conclusion about the story. The story is not the main focus of Stellar Blade. The main focus is the gameplay. Earlier, when I was talking about the combat and the gameplay, it was pretty in-depth, and the combat has multiple layers to it. Even just running around, climbing and jumping, felt like there was so much care put into it. The gameplay was the main focus of Stellar Blade, and the story comes second. They most likely wrote this story after nailing all of the gameplay mechanics down. That's at least what I believe. However, I do not think that is a bad idea. The gameplay is the best part of the game. Multiple free updates have added more and more gameplay options to the game over the months, and the developers have basically said that they have not planned to do any story DLC for the game at this moment, further proving that story is not their main focus at all. I pray that if they do end up making a prequel game or a sequel game to Stellar Blade, they equally focus on the story and the gameplay to make a truly expertly crafted game. In conclusion, Stellar Blade is an amazing game that I think you should play. It's a nice game where you can just turn on and just hack and slash away. If you want to get into the game for the gameplay purely, then I highly recommend it. However, if you want to get into the game purely for the story, then I probably think you should just look somewhere else. The gameplay though is absolutely addicting, and even to this day I still hop on Stellar Blade just to speedrun the game and watch this hot Korean goddess stab a monster with a large pointy stick. Stellar Blade is 100% one of my favorite games to go back to, and the developers really cooked with this game, and that I hope that they continue to cook with this game and whatever game that they make in the future. I give Stellar Blade a 9 out of 10. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I enjoyed writing the script, editing the video, and recording all of the footage for this game. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because that shows me that you want more of these kinds of videos. I greatly enjoy making these kinds of videos, and I hope that you guys enjoy these videos too. It would greatly motivate me to continue this. Thank you, and I'll see you all in the next one.